Welcome to the Litmus Test. We're out and about with Daniel Gray, who works at Afters and also in the production side of the industry. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Tina.
Thanks for having us today.
It's a pleasure.
What got you into the film industry?
Well, originally, a long time ago, I was watching a film with my mum. I was like 6, and I was like, "Who decides where that shot was taken from?" Which I think was kind of an interesting thing at that age to kind of decipher that it's a film. And she said it's the DP, and I was like, right, that's what I want to do. And I kind of forgot that had happened for like 15 years. And I went off and I worked in the home theatre industry because I've always loved films, like watching films. But I always thought it would be impossible to actually work in the industry. And kind of...
Why did you think that?
Well...
Make money out of it,
it was
you
such
mean?
a... Well, yeah, that, and it always seems like such a magic field. And it used to be a little bit of magic, you know, like, especially like a DP's job. So everyone on the set would be working towards creating this film, but only the DP got to look through the eyepiece and saw what they were actually capturing. Through digital, I mean, those days are over. Everyone on set can now just look at a monitor and have an opinion, and kind of know what a set designer feels like, I guess. You know, I just did a commercial for Super A-Mart, and we had it like every tier, you know, like the clients and the producer and the director and the DP and the gaffer and the set designer and the makeup artist all had an opinion on the shot that was being taken. And I mean, I kind of think the magic's gone a little bit because of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of that magic, that's the reason why I never thought I could be in the film industry. I thought it was, you know, like a dream, like being an actor or same industry, you know, like or a famous musician. Yeah, I just thought it was something that I could never achieve. But about 4 or 5 years ago, just because of digital and because of the easy access to really high quality video equipment, I started to think, well, maybe I could. And I started to release my own little films and kind of like leveraging those into making more opportunities for myself. Which has worked really well. Like the start of last year, I shot a round the world documentary for DubaiOne, which is a huge TV station in Dubai. And the only reason I got that show is because of short DSLR films that I posted on the internet. Because, you know, the international company, I never met them, they never heard of me. They saw some stuff I posted of my kids playing at the beach. They loved it, and I got that job.
Great. So what's the best part that you like about the industry? Your job?
The people. Yeah, for sure. It's such a social, interactive job. I mean, I would even go far as to say, is like, if you're not a very social person, I would stay away from the production side of the film industry, because what you end up doing is just spending hours and hours and hours, sometimes up to 18 hours a day with the same people every day. And if you're not willing to get along with everybody, then it's going to be a really miserable experience for you, and you're going to make it miserable for everyone else as well.
What about the storytelling side of it?
Well, the storytelling side, in the roles that I usually work in, I don't have as much to do with. In small jobs, I fill big roles in small jobs and small roles in big jobs. So in the big stuff, I'm usually just kind of carrying shot bags or C-stands or whatever. And in some shorter films, I've got to have much more of a choice in what goes on. Your short film, for example, Beautiful, like I got to decide exactly every shot, you know, and I think what I'm doing as a DP there is not so much to do with the story, though. It's a representation of your idea of the story, you being the director's idea of the story. So I love watching stories, but I'm not that interested in controlling stories. I'm more interested in displaying people's idea of the story, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Which is kind of what I was talking about when I was 6. Do you know what I mean? Like representing other people's ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, deciding what is the most beautiful location to shoot a particular scene.
You seem to have a very clear idea in your head of what that idea is too, which is good to be able to convey, right? If you can't get in here. Yeah. So what's the most unusual thing you've done in your work?
The most unusual stuff I've done in my work is I've eaten some really weird stuff. That's not really exactly to do with my work. Like I ate durian in Jakarta, which is like this fruit that smells like...
the stinky one.
Yeah, it smells like poo. It's actually illegal to take on public transport, and in hotels it's that smelly. It can make people
gross.
retch. But, you know, I was with a small crew and we're all kind of egging each other on, and So we ate something that smells like rotten egg. It was gross. And chicken liver on a skewer,
Right.
and that tastes like chicken at first, but then like poo afterwards. That was pretty gross. But
There's a girl in Japan making videos about that. She's getting.
yeah, she eats weird stuff, and
That's
she has a
it.
massive following.
I know, and I was
Yeah.
going to say maybe that's part of your industry. You could
Yeah.
just veer into that.
Yeah, I could. I ate live crickets in Mexico.
Oh.
That was really odd.
Yeah, that's
The,
weird.
the big ones, the little ones are okay because you just like have a handful, but the big ones and these like
Yeah.
feelers are going and stuff. That
Okay,
that
let's get back on topic.
That
We're
was really
getting-
gross. Sorry,
we're
yeah.
getting
I'm
distracted
going
by
back to that
insects.
moment and feeling really queasy. But it's kind of the places I've been that have
Right.
been really weird. The slums in Manila and the favelas in Rio. We had to go under armed guard, and there were certain parts of the favela that we weren't even allowed to look in. You know, so they were taking us down these streets because it's shops and people live. It's just they don't have running water or electricity, but there's still like whole neighbourhoods and stuff going on in there, and our guards were like, okay, so don't look down that alleyway. Whatever you do, that's the drug section of the favela, and you know, like you might catch eyes with someone, and life's very cheap. They might see the mobile phone bulge in your pocket, and that could be the end of your day. But probably the weirdest was I surfed on the top of a jeepney in Manila, and jeepney is like a stretched jeep. So they had all these jeeps left over from the war, because in Manila they had this huge American army base. And so they've cut all these jeeps in half and then stretched them out, and then now they're public transport, they're buses. That's how people get around.
Colour.
And so, oh yeah,
I love
they're so colourful and just covered with coloured lights and streamers, and the guys selling the tickets are so animated. They hang out the side yelling at people, and we did a little tour, and we set up an interview in the back of the jeep, and the interview was done within 10 minutes. So I'm like, right, I've got to get some more shots. I'm looking out the back. I've noticed this little ladder, so I climbed up on the roof, and I'm surfing on the roof in Manila with a steady cam, getting these.
There's our chainsaw.
Yeah, there's a chainsaw. I was surfing on the roof of this jeepney with a steady cam, and I thought it'd be a good shot if I could look back through the windscreen at the guys inside, because they're still sitting in the jeep. So I'm laying off the front, and my editor's climbed, and he's hanging onto my legs. And as I leant over the front, I knocked one of these baubles, like the lights, off the top, and it shattered on the ground. So the driver heard that and just slammed his brakes on. And if my editor hadn't been holding onto my legs, I was a total goner.
Would have been good footage though.
No, it's
Had
so
you
shaky.
saved
I
your
was just
camera?
it was just so shaky and ridiculous, and upside down, of course, because I was upside down.
Well, our next point is, where will you be in 10 years in the industry?
In the industry, I've no idea.
If
I
we even
hope
know
to
where the
be-
industry will be. in
Yeah,
10 years.
exactly. I mean, I hope to be sitting on a beach playing with my kids in the sand. But in the industry, I'm really enjoying where I am at the moment. Like working at Afters, it's really rewarding. Passing on some of my limited knowledge to the kids that are there, and just shooting commercials and short films and stuff. I worked on an amazing short film that was totally crowdfunded just last weekend, and that was a beautiful experience with people that I'd worked with when I was kind of starting my journey in the industry just a few years back, and we'd all kind of matured a little bit, not a lot, but we had a little bit more money this time, and everyone was kind of handpicked for their personalities.
Right.
Because like I said, it's such a social industry. I think you can go really far if you just make the time to get to know people. I started off in the industry volunteering, and I just made sure I hung around after the set was all done until the last person left, just having a chat, and that made a big difference.
What do you think the industry futures is? Like, what could happen?
Well, I think video on demand is going to be massive, and hopefully more content is needed for that video on demand, and hopefully some more money starts going back into the music industry, the music video side of things, because at the moment there's no money in music videos at all, and it's such a shame. I really think it helps with the emotion of a song, and video and music can be so powerful when paired together. And also, I believe in short film. I hope that really grows, and alongside that, web series. Web series that are basically just a bunch of short films stitched together. And they don't have to be like this TV series that we're used to on TV, like Friends or Seinfeld or whatever. There's some really successful web series that are just about, they're not about the characters, they're about the situation. Or there are ones that are about one character, but everyone else changes every single series. and you could utilize lots of people, get lots of people working, and you can make a much cheaper version of entertainment that way.
Why don't you think Australian films do well?
Because Australian films are judged against American films, and in my opinion, they're usually just not as good, unfortunately. I mean,
Production value wise, or
production value wise, it's up
budget?
there, but we can't compete against the budgets of American television or film. We just can't. We don't have enough people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally feature films in Australia have been paid for by the government, because they're the only people that can afford to create features. I think we're going to cover that in another.
That's fine.
Question,
We can go
yeah.
all over. Yeah. What's the biggest challenge for people trying to work in the industry?
Oh, there's lots of huge challenges. The biggest one is money. From January to March this year, I had no work, not a single day. And if you can't manage to live like that, no money for 3 months, then being in the industry is just not for you. It's the life of a lot of freelancers. The Australian industry it's a lot harder than a lot of freelance industries.
Do you think our movie industry is shrinking?
The budgets are, yeah, because I mean in the 80s and 90s maybe it was still a good investment, but I think it's just been proven beyond a shadow of the doubt that the Australian film industry is not a good bet for businesses to invest in. And crowdfunding can do only so much. It really can't get you the whole way to a feature, which is why I believe so strongly in short film. It's so much cheaper, and people are loving little bite-sized bits of entertainment now. 5 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and you can watch it on your phone while you're on the bus.
Because it looks like people have a short attention span.
Well, it's proven.
Yeah, so that
it's
works
proven
well.
fact.
But for the film, like a longer film, it has to blow everything up, boom, 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 to keep their attention. So
yeah. Just look at the films. Look at the tentpole films recently. Transformers and the new Jurassic World that everyone's saying is awful. The first Jurassic Park was so amazing. It's one of the best films I ever saw. It just blew my mind when I saw that Diplodocus standing on a tree. They just drive a jeep past, and I was like, oh my god.
So realistic.
What am I doing installing home theatres? I want to work in an industry that can do art like that.
Like that, yeah.
Art, and
Do you
it's
think
such a good
cinema
blend.
will even exist in 5 years?
I think so. Yeah. If you mean going to the cinema.
Going to the cinema.
Absolutely. But I think it'll change. I think, web series may become big enough so that you go and watch them at the cinema with the same group of people.
Right.
We've got Avoca Theatre, which does plays from the Met. And that's the only way people from the Central Coast can experience plays from the Met.
Right.
When you're not going to go to the Met.
Yeah. Yeah, right. What do you think about piracy in films?
I think piracy's just wrong. It just is. Like I understand both sides of the argument. On one hand, it's so convenient, and it seems like a victimless crime, but it's not. It's really not. So the middle budget films in between about 20 million to 75 million have all but disappeared. They've disappeared completely. I mean, they've been replaced by some amazing television. I think Kiefer Sutherland was the first person I heard talking about it, and he made the switch from those middle-of-the-road films to the TV series 24, which did amazing things. But he noticed that there was just no good scripts coming up. So you had tentpole films, like The Lone Ranger and rubbish like that. I understand that that the age of cinema goers has reduced, so those films are not for the people that used to go to the cinema. A lot of those films are for teenagers. But now the kind of films that I used to watch, their budgets have been dropped to 2 or 3 million. That's a direct result of piracy. It's now, if a film is iffy in people's minds, they don't take the risk and pay the $25 to go to the cinema. They watch it at home for free. And that's why I think video on demand is going to go so well. Netflix has just come into Australia.
Yeah.
Foxtel have a competitor to that. That's only going to get easier and probably not cheaper. I mean, Netflix is ridiculously cheap. It's only like $8 a month, but it's only going to get easier to watch and keep those movies and just watch entertainment whenever you've got the time, instead of making a set time to go out to the cinemas and watch those kind of middle of the road films, the art house or something that's a bit more interesting or something that's for an older audience. I think all that stuff is going to move to video on demand.
What about the suggestion of cutting out the distributor now? Like filmmakers can just go straight to these TV networks and sell it straight to the TV.
Yeah, I think that ties in.
I
think that ties in perfectly with video on demand.
Yeah.
iTunes. I mean, that already works for the music industry. You can go make a song on your laptop, and if you're lucky, iTunes will list it, and people will buy it, and you get all the profit apart from Apple's enormous cut they take.
Yeah.
But I think Netflix will be doing the same thing, and companies like Vimeo and YouTube will have that stuff covered as well, and so the distributor will be gone.
Yeah. So the filmmaker, how do they make their money this way then, through Netflix?
Well, they will get a cut of
percentage.
each, click per play or pay per click.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will get a cut of every single time someone watches their film. So the better you make your film, and the more popular you make your film, the more money you make.
Sometimes even the worse you make it.
Yes. Yeah. Just make an incredibly
Zombie film.
gory zombie film, and you're guaranteed to get.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, traditionally horror films have been the way to make money. If you want to just have a quick turnaround for some cash, just make something ridiculously gory.
And so you were talking about crowdfunding before. That's our last question, really. How do you think filmmakers can go about raising money in Australia? The golden question.
Yeah, well, I think the only way to get a feature made is through government money, through Screen Australia or Screen New South Wales, and just knowing if you're good mates with someone there that is in charge of where that funding goes, then I think you can get your feature made. Otherwise, it's incredibly difficult. A friend of mine, John Frank, just produced a feature film called Teenage Kicks, and they did a huge thing through Kickstarter with enormous amounts of social media awareness and stuff, and they raised 67,000. So that's great. It sounds good, except the feature films don't cost 67,000. They cost at least $250,000. Some people have made films for less than that, but I've seen a few of those, and I wouldn't watch them again. John Frank still had to come up with another 240,000 to get his film made, and they were still short on the money for post. So it was an ongoing. I think crowdfunding is a lovely icing on the cake for your film, for short film as well. Because you'd be very unlikely to raise $67,000 for your short film. But the one I was on just last weekend, they raised $9,000, which is about half of their budget for a 4-day shoot.
Right.
Yeah, so that paid for all the food, and the people that should have been getting paid were paid a wage, so they could walk away, proud of what they've done, and felt that they gave their all. So not as a be-all and end-all, but crowdfunding is something I would definitely do every time I wanted to create my own story, no matter what. Web series. I think it works especially well for when you're actually buying something. Like inventions, or or if you wanted to sell a Blu-ray copy of your film, people could pre-buy the Blu-ray or the download. So when you're actually selling stuff, just as raising funds, I think that day is almost past. Right. Just like give me money for nothing, for some air, I think that day is gone. But if you've got a new idea for a smartwatch or a new app or something, then crowdfunding is amazing. Some things have blown my mind with how much money they've raised, millions and millions of dollars. Video games as well.
Yeah.
Like if you want to pre-sell a video game, I think out of the top 5 most money raised in Kickstarter, I think 3 of those are video games. Millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Unless you have anything to add about the film industry today?
No.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us.
That's right.
You've been with The Litmus Test. We'll see you again next time. Thank you.